Hey there, rock lovers! Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're tuning in. Today we're diving into the roots of the music we all love rock and roll. I'll be your guide, and trust me, I've been rocking out to this tune since my air guitar skills were top notch. Rock music wasn't created in a vacuum. Folks know it's a beautiful, chaotic melting pot of styles. From blues to country, rhythm and blues to folk, each of these styles added something special. So grab your air guitars, put on your leather jackets, and let's take a journey through the history of rock music. We're going deep, like the first time you heard a guitar solo that made your heart race. Alright, we're starting right at the beginning, the roots of rock. You might think rock is all about leather jackets, wild concerts, and epic guitar solos. But hey, before all of that, it was blues and folk that set the stage. These were the first building blocks that gave rock its soul. No blues, no rock, no folk? Well, you get the idea, everything had its origins. Blues is basically rock's older wisest sibling, the one who taught rock everything it knows about emotion. Born from the African American communities in the early 20th century, the blues told stories of struggles, love, and life's everyday battles. If rock music is about expressing the rawest emotions, then blues is a master teacher. It brought us that 12-bar structure, expressive guitar playing, and those vocals that just hit you right in the gut. Songs like Crossroads and Dust My Broom features like guitar techniques. That later influenced rock guitarists like Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page. Love in Vain, Goodnight Irene.
When all your love's in vain, all my love's in vain.
And Blueberry Hill.
On Blueberry Hill, on Blueberry Hill,
Were early examples of storytelling in music, which rock would later adopt. Folk music also played a role, as seen in songs like Cotton Fields and When the Leaf Breaks, which mixed folk melodies with blues rhythms. Blues gave rock its depth, but country music helped shape its rhythm and melody. In the rural South, country and folk songs were passed down through generations. These songs had catchy tunes and often told simple but powerful stories. Tracks like Hey Good Lookin',
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking?
and I'm so lonesome I could cry brought a lighter, more melodic style that later influenced early rock singers. Meanwhile, songs like Ida Red and Waiting for the Train had fast, danceable rhythms,
Party tonight, I'd read, I'm plumb full of I'd read. I'm 1,000 miles away from home, waiting for a train.
which led to the development of rockabilly, a style that blended country with rock's growing energy. In the late 1940s, R&B was changing. It was becoming faster, louder, and more energetic. This new version of R&B laid the foundation for rock and roll. Artists like Louis Jordan and Big Joe Turner brought upbeat rhythms and powerful performances, exciting young audiences across America. Songs like Route 66, Good Rockin' Tonight, and Turn On Your Love Light had jump blues rhythms, which empathized a strong backbeat, one of rock's key elements. Tracks like Born Under a Bad Sign and That's Alright Mama
Born on a bad sign. That's alright. That's alright, mama.
had a rawer, more rebellious sound given rock its early age. One of the most important recordings of this era was The Fat Man by Fats Domino. Which featured a rolling piano rhythm and a pounding beat, elements that would become essential to rock and roll. By the early 1950s, these different styles were blending together, creating the first true rock and roll songs. One of the most important early records was Rocket 88 by Jackie Branston and the Delta Cats, released in 1951. It featured a distorted electric guitar, a driving rhythm, and energetic vocals. Many consider it the first rock and roll song. Soon after, songs like 60-Minute Man, Rock the Joint embraced heavier beats and more aggressive vocal styles. By 1954-55, rock and roll had officially arrived.
Rock this joint, we're gonna rock this joint.
Tracks like Rock Around the Clock, Maybelline, Shake, Rattle and Roll, and Tutti Frutti became massive hits. These songs introduced rock's rebellious energy and forever changed popular music. Rock music was now a defined genre, but it wasn't done evolving. As the 1960s arrived, rock would grow into something even bigger, shaping the culture and sound of an entire generation. Let's get into the 60s. This is when rock music went from being fun, fast and furious to becoming a movement. And as much as we love our 50s rock and roll, the 60s really took it to a whole new level. Everything from mind-expanding sounds to deeper meanings. At the beginning of the decade, rock and roll still had many of its 1950s influences, but it started to branch out. New subgenres developed, blending rock with soul, pop, and even jazz. Songs like Twist and Shout, Shop Around showed how rock was evolving, with elements of Motown and doo-wop becoming more common. Advancements in recording technology also allowed for cleaner, more polished sounds. Some artists kept the high-energy spirit of early rock alive, with songs like Runaway and Hello, Mary Lou.
I said hello, Mary Lou. Goodbye, heart, sweet Mary Lou. I'm so in love with you.
While others mixed in R&B and soul, as heard in Unchain My Heart and Baby Love.
Some fella tells me that you're not at home. Unchain my heart. Step me free.
Baby love, my baby love, and then you're kissing.
Instrumental tracks like Green Onions and Everybody Needs Somebody to Love introduced groove-based rock, laying the foundation for future blues rock. Then came Surfin' USA, which transformed Chuck Berry's Sweet Little 16 into a surf rock anthem.
Surfing USA. We'll all be planning out a route.
This marked the rise of the California sound led by Beach Boys. In the 1964, the world saw something it could never unsee. The Beatles landing in the US. Like a tidal wave, the British invasion swept across the nation. The Beatles changed the game. No one had heard melodies like She Loves You or I Want to Hold Your Hand. The world went crazy, and so did I. In my bedroom rocking out with a hairbrush, they showed us that rock could be more than music. It could be a cultural phenomenon. And don't think the Brits stopped there. The Rolling Stones, the Kings, and the Who brought raw, gritty sounds that were basically the soundtrack for punk rock and hard rock. Those distorted guitar riffs in Satisfaction and You Really Got Me? Legendary! Back in the US, folk rock took its place on the stage with Bob Dylan leading the charge. Dylan's songs like Blowing in the Wind and Like a Rolling Stone weren't just catchy, they were packed with meaning. He used rock music to challenge ideas, share social messages, and inspire generation.
Answer, my friend, is a blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How does it feel? How does it feel?
Then there was the rise of surf rock in California. The Beach Boys made us feel like we were cruising down the coast in a convertible with good vibrations.
I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitement.
Introduced complex harmonies and pseudo effects, while psychedelic rock began to emerge. This movement, influenced by experimental sounds and changing social attitudes, would define the late 60s. Now, let's head into the late 60s, where things got, well, trippy. Psychedelic rock was born, and suddenly everything was little more mind-bending. Artists like Jimi Hendrix and The Doors were distorting their guitars and experimenting with sound in ways no one had ever done before. Hendrix's Purple Haze and The Doors' White Rabbit were like soundtracks to a wild trip, in the best possible way. Purple Haze showcased new ways of using electric guitar, with distortion, feedback, and effects that had never been heard before. Bands like Pink Floyd and The Doors experimented with atmospheric soundscapes, while Cream and Led Zeppelin introduced a heavier, blues-driven style that would later influence hard rock and heavy metal. Songs like White Rabbit, All Along the Watchtower, and Piece of My Heart became anthems for a generation that wanted freedom and change. And then you've got the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. Honestly, this album is like a rock bible. It took the whole genre to new heights, blending experimental sounds with songwriting that could make you laugh, cry, or think deeply about life. By the end of the 60s, rock had grown far beyond its early rock and roll roots. The decade saw the birth of psychedelic rock, folk rock, and hard rock, paving the way for the many styles that would emerge in the 70s and beyond. The counterculture and political unrest found their voices in rock music. Festivals like Woodstock were more than concerts, they were manifestos of freedom and change. And that's the end of today's rock tale. If you're digging the vibe, hit the subscribe, drop a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. We've already used fan suggestions to spark new shorts. Tell us, what tracks or artists do you think helped carve the rock path? And now, if you'll excuse me, my air guitar has been collecting dust in the closet. Time to give it a solo.